Hello, morning. This is going to be a short class because the study session is quite short in a way, so you don't need to take up much time. Um, our next class is going to be a studio session, a proper introduction, and it's going to be our last class, hopefully. And after this class, you have your course material already, but I'm going to send this slide because it's going to help explain some of the um, vague concepts in your course material. Some things are better explained using figures. And I think I have the figures here. Okay, so when you're reading, you juxtapose the theory with these figures, and I think everything will be assimilated very easily, All right, so the next study session, that will be module 3, study session 2. Disorders of amino acid metabolism. There are many disorders, to be honest, but here we picked phenylketonuria, albinism, alkaptonuria, maple syrup urine disease. These disorders are actually linked, There's an intersection here. There's a particular amino acid that plays a key role in all of this. Anyway, to start with the first one, phenylketonuria, you are aware of the amino acid phenylalanine, right? Phenylalanine, okay? So basically, disorders of amino acid metabolism, usually an enzyme that is supposed to catalyze the conversion of one amino acid to another becomes defective, deficient, or absent. So that amino acid is not present. The initial amino acid that is supposed to convert it to a product accumulates. The level increases to an abnormal level, and it causes a serious problem in the cell, right? Because there has to be balance, metabolic balance in biochemical reactions. So the enzyme is supposed to help maintain that balance. If that enzyme is absent or deficient and it cannot do its job, then the reactant, or what the biochemists call the substrate, wouldn't be converted to a product, right? And that substrate is going to accumulate. The level is going to be high, higher than normal, and that should cause a problem, right? I think it's common sense. It makes sense, doesn't it? All right. So what is phenylketonuria? Basically, this is it. Okay. Phenylketonuria, also known as PKU, occurs when phenylalanine hydroxylase, which is an enzyme, is absent or significantly reduced. Now, this enzyme is responsible for degradation of phenylalanine. It degrades phenylalanine, converts it to usually tyrosine. Now, in the absence of this enzyme, phenylalanine accumulates, which stimulates the metabolism of phenylalanine through an alternative pathway to produce derivatives of phenylalanine, and which usually ends up in the urine. Okay, now these derivatives are not really good for your system, and the clinical symptom, this could cause neurological problems. So in summary, summarizing everything now, okay, this figure summarizes everything I've been saying. Okay, all right. So just take a look at this. All right, the clinical presentation. So this is your skin, okay? As nursing students, I'm sure you're aware of melanin, right? Melanin is responsible for skin pigmentation. Uh, Tyrosine is the amino acid that is used to synthesize melanin, okay? Now, the reason why tyrosine is being brought here is it's important because it's linked to this phenylalanine metabolism, okay? So when you have high phenylalanine concentrations in the body, because phenylalanine hydroxylase, this enzyme is deficient. You see phenylalanine here is converted to tyrosine. Tyrosine is used to synthesize melanin in the body. Now, is phenylalanine hydroxylase converts phenylalanine to tyrosine. If this enzyme is deficient or absent, or the enzyme activity or concentration is reduced, right? Then you won't have enough conversion of phenylalanine to tyrosine. And then you're going to have problems such as hypopigmentation, as you can see here, okay? Or tremor, psychosis, seizures, or cognitive dysfunction, just like it's mentioned in your lecture notes. This arrow here going up shows you that the level of the concentration of phenylalanine in your body is very high. And here, tyrosine is low. Of course, it's low because if phenylalanine was converted to tyrosine, you have enough tyrosine, right? But because it's not converted, it's accumulating here and it's high. Phenyltyrosine is low. And the enzyme responsible for this is deficient or absent phenylalanine hydroxylase, right? Okay. So you see, now, because phenylalanine is not converted to tyrosine due to defective phenylalanine hydroxylase, an alternative pathway, which is not good for the system, is the transamination pathway where phenylalanine is transaminated to these products, phenylpyruvate, phenylacetate, and phenyl acetate, right? Not the same thing. All right. And then this byproducts here, this more or less products here causes musty or mousy odor. Okay. So I think this odor, has a musty or mousy odor. Sorry. Okay. So basically, this is phenylketonuria. Okay. I think this chart summarizes everything. So that's why I like to present it as a video format like this. If not, you have a hard time explaining things, you know? Okay. Now the next disorder of amino acid metabolism in your lecture notes is albinism, followed by alkaptonuria. Okay. So take note of this compound, dihydroxyphenylalanine, DOPA, because it plays an important role in this. It's going to be significant to this explanation here. Now, what's albinism, right? Albinism is a rare genetic condition caused by mutations or changes of certain genes that affect the amount of melanin your body produces. So basically, phenylketonuria and albinism are actually connected, right? We just finished talking about tyrosine. Phenylalanine is supposed to be converted to tyrosine. Tyrosine is used to synthesize melanin. So albinism, when there's no enough melanin, that's the protein that plays a role in that's used to synthesize melanin, then there's going to be a problem. Now, the enzyme that is supposed to play a role in the conversion of tyrosine to melanin has to be implicated here. If that enzyme is deficient or absent, then there's a problem. Now, what's the enzyme? Now, before we get there, melanin controls pigmentation, color of your skin, right? We should know the function of melanin before we start talking about albinism and the biochemical basis for it, okay? So you've seen albinos before, right? As nursing students, you probably know better than me. I mean, you treat probably all types of patients in the hospital. Okay. So melanin controls the pigmentation of the skin, okay, eyes, and hair. You notice a lot of albinos have gray hair. It's all linked to melanin deficiency. People with albinism have extremely pale skin, eyes, and hair. They are at an increased risk of vision, skin, and social issues. Now, let's talk the biochemistry now, right? To make things easier. Now, this one here represents this enzyme, phenylalanine hydroxylase. So basically, this is phenylketonuria. In the absence, this horizontal red line you are seeing shows deficiency of this enzyme. And when this enzyme is deficient or blocked, phenylalanine accumulates and it can't be converted to tyrosine, right? So we have phenylketonuria here, PKU, right? Phenylketonuria. Now, if there's no phenylketonuria, and let's say this enzyme is not blocked, and we're able to get enough tyrosine, now, say we've bypassed phenylketonuria, but we are just saying this is just a hypothetical, right? Now we have tyrosine. Tyrosine is converted to DOPA. This is a coenzyme, right? This is a coenzyme. Tyrosine is converted to DOPA. The enzyme that converts tyrosine to DOPA is number 2 here. and it's tyrosine hydroxylase, right? Now, DOPA is dihydroxyphenylalanine. Now, dihydroxyphenylalanine is converted to dopamine 3 by the coenzyme is B6, vitamin B6 here. 3 here is B6. You remember what B6 is? Pyridoxal phosphate. Okay. 3 here is dopa decarboxylase. So decarboxylation of dopa dihydroxyphenylalanine produces the dopamine. I'm sure you know what dopamine is, right? Hormone. All right. Now, dopa can also be converted to melanin by this enzyme number 4 here, which is tyrosinase. And the absence, blockage, or deficiency, just as exemplified by this horizontal deadline, which shows deficiency or blockage of this enzyme, is going to cause albinism. So if this enzyme is defective, if anything wrong happens with this enzyme, tyrosinase, you are going to have melanin deficiency, and it's going to cause albinism. So the key enzymes here is for phenylketonuria, phenylalanine hydroxylase. If anything happens to it, absence, deficiency, or reduction in concentration, anyhow, it could cause phenylketonuria. While for melanin, as tyrosine is the major player, is the amino acid that's involved, some enzymes play a role in conversion of tyrosine to dopa and intermediate. Now, this dopa is what's converted to melanin. And the enzyme that converts dopa to melanin is number 4 here, tyrosinase. Anything happens to tyrosinase, whether it's deficient or absent, right? You end up with melanin deficiency. The concentration of melanin will reduce or be absent, and you're going to have albinism, okay? So basically, I think this summarizes everything. I hope you have an appreciation for this. The next disorder of amino acid metabolism is alkaptonuria, or black urine disease, okay? Alkaptonuria is a very rare inherited disorder, prevents the body fully breaking down two protein building blocks, amino acids called tyrosine and phenylalanine, okay? It results in a buildup of chemical called homogentisic acid in the body. So I told you these disorders of metabolism, amino acid metabolism in your course note are linked. They are all linked to tyrosine metabolism in one way or another. Now let's just show this. This will summarize everything, right? Now, the protein here, from a protein digest, you get phenylalanine, an amino acid. Phenylalanine is converted to tyrosine by phenylalanine hydroxylase. And we know what happens when this enzyme is absent, phenylketonuria, right? Tyrosine is converted to melanin through a two-step reaction, more or less a one-step reaction in the middle, right? Tyrosine to dopa, dopa to melanin, right? Now, if tyrosine is the enzyme that converts dopa to melanin is absent or deficient, we are going to have albinism. It means there will be melanin deficiency and tyrosine is going to accumulate, right? Now, if tyrosine accumulates, the cell has to look for a way of getting rid of excess tyrosine. If not, it will cause problems, right? The body needs balance. The body operates on the principle of maximum economy. So tyrosine is going to be converted to this compound, hydroxyphenyl pyruvic acid, then to another compound, homogentisic acid. Now, homogentisic acid or homogentisate is converted to mallyl acetoacetic acid through this enzyme, homogentisic acid oxidase. Now, if this enzyme is blocked or deficient or absent, it's going to cause alkaptonuria. And what it means is the blockage of this enzyme or absence or deficiency of this enzyme is going to cause the accumulation of homogentisate, just like mentioned in your lecture notes. If you read it, homogentisate is going to accumulate and it's going to cause alkaptonuria, okay? And what's alkaptonuria? We just read here. Let's go to your lecture notes. So connect everything, right? So the clinical symptom of this alkaptonuria will be high amounts of homogentisate are excreted in the urine, right? You've seen it from the pathway, which causes the urine to darken gradually or rapidly due to oxidation of homogentisate, okay? So what are clinical symptoms, right, of this? The disorder could cause ochronosis, and later years could cause arthritis. So this can be quite serious, right? Okay. Then the last, but not the least. So what have you noticed here? For all these three disorders we've mentioned, tyrosine is a major player. It's like a key point. It's linked. It's in the middle of it's at the center of everything. Okay. Then the last uh, disorder for today is the maple syrup urine disease. From the name, maple syrup urine means your the urine, sorry, gets the coloration of the urine gets compromised. Okay. So based on your lecture notes, before I go to my slide, to make things so that I carry you along. The first two steps in the degradation of branched chain amino acids, such as valine, leucine, and these are branched chain amino acids. If you just browse this online, you're going to see them. Aliphatic branched chain amino acids are identical. There's a transamination reaction that occurs that is uniform for all these branched chain amino acids. And then the carboxylation reaction, that's to break down the amino acid. The enzyme that catalyzes the carboxylation is branch-chain alpha-keto acid dehydrogenase complex. So a genetic deficiency of this enzyme causes elevated levels of these amino acids and alpha-keto acid in the blood and urine. This cannot be good, right? So high concentration of alpha-keto acid gives the urine of these patients a maple syrup color. So you can imagine a urine having this color. This is not a very good thing to see, right? So the disorder is usually seen in first week of life, probably babies that are fed poorly in their first week of life, and it causes vomiting, muscular hypertonicity, and sometimes convulsion. All right, so let's go back to our slide, okay? Well, the maple syrup urine disease is a rare genetic disorder, of course. The body can't break down branched chain amino acid. This simplifies everything, right? So these are your branched chain amino acid. Valine, this is the alpha carbon of your amino acid. The alpha carbon is this, the center one. This is a functional group, the carboxylic this thing. The amino carboxylic group here, amino group here, and this is your R group. And this R group is branched. Okay? Your R group is branched. All right. Then you have, if you look, the core of the amino acid is always similar. You see, this is amino acid. What differentiates one amino acid from the other is the R group. You see, this branch here is different from the branch here. You agree, right? The branch here is different from the branch here, and the branch here is different from the branch here and the branch here. And that's what makes this valine, leucine, and isoleucine. If you're a biochemistry student, I would ask you to draw all the amino acids, the structure for me. But we wouldn't be doing that here, okay? All right. Now look at the pathway. Basically, you see BCAT, BCAT, BCAT. This enzyme is a branch chain aminotransferase that catalyzes transamination reaction. So if you remember yesterday when we were discussing the excretion of amino acid, first the amino acid is transaminated, then oxidative and non-oxidative deamination to convert the amino acid first to glutamate, and then from glutamate to ammonia, from ammonia to urea, and the urea is excreted in the urine. So transamination reaction is a key reaction and the initial steps of excreting an amino acid from the body, right? So because you don't want to have excess of amino acid that you don't need, okay? So you see this reaction is common for all this amino acid. There's no difference. Now, where the problem lies is when you have this alpha keto acid, depending on which amino acid you're talking about, but alpha keto compound, the branch chain keto, alpha keto acid dehydrogenase complex is supposed to convert this, right, to this, decarboxylation. It's supposed to decarboxylate this, and this, to this, and this, right? And this can be easily converted to this compound acetoacetate, acetyl-CoA, or propanyl-CoA here, or acetyl-CoA here, which could go into carbohydrate metabolism, the citric acid cycle, or can be converted to fatty acids and stored, right? Now, Because this enzyme is deficient, this conversion is not going to happen. And this alpha keto acid, or this amino acid, leucine, valine, will accumulate in the body. And that's how they end up in the urine. The alpha keto acid will accumulate. The amino acid will also accumulate because the branched chain alpha keto acid dehydrogenase complex is deficient in patients that have this maple syrup urine disease. And this is what causes the clinical symptoms associated with the disease. So basically, this is it. I think I've done justice to this lecture today, to be honest. If you have any question, you ask. Don't forget, please leave questions and comments. And I'll be expecting our last class should be next week. I will check your assignments hopefully today or Monday. I'll grade by Monday. And then we'll have to talk about individual assignments next week. We'll fix a time for the last class. It's going to be a study session, hopefully. And see you in the next class.